Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're listening to this, chances are, or maybe someone you know, has felt that just agonizing, heavy sensation of being trapped.
hmm
Maybe you're stuck in a career rut or stalled in a relationship, or you just generally feel like you're, spinning your wheels instead of moving forward.
Right.
That feeling of stagnation is what we're diving into today.
And we've looked at a pretty substantial stack of research here, and the thesis that just keeps coming up is, well, it's sharp and it's uncompromising.
Which is,
The quality of your life is not ultimately determined by your conditions, your circumstances, but by your decisions.
okay.
The entire body of material really argues that the single most powerful tool you have to get unstuck is mastering the skill of decision-making itself.
Okay, but that sounds, I don't know, almost deceptively simple. If the solution is just deciding to move, why is this such a common human struggle? What actually stops us?
Well, the sources point to three sort of psychological giants that block us.
Yeah.
The first one is the obvious one, fear of making the wrong choice. The second is the fear of the consequences of that choice. But the third, and this is maybe the most paralyzing one, is this irrational belief that we need 100% certainty, perfect information, before we can act.
And that ties right into that feeling of overwhelm, doesn't it? If you're always hunting for perfect information, you never act.
Precisely. The material makes a fantastic point about stress. Stress isn't really measured by how hard things are. Bad things happen to everyone.
Right.
Stress is measured by how much you feel events control you versus how much you feel you control events. When you feel like you're at the mercy of your circumstances, stress it spikes.
And we're just drowning in information now.
That's the sad irony, isn't it? We are drowning in information, but we are absolutely starving for wisdom because we never stop gathering data long enough to actually do something with it.
Information versus wisdom. I like that. We're sort of conditioned to wait for this certainty that, as the sources remind us, is basically an illusion. It doesn't exist.
It never comes. You have to operate on a kind of faith, an ability to act without a guaranteed outcome.
They use that highway analogy, which I think is perfect.
It is. Think about it. You get into a machine that's going, 70 miles an hour, separated from other machines by just a painted line.
Yeah, it's terrifying if you actually stop and think about it.
And at any moment, something totally unpredictable could happen. But you get in the car every single day without that paralyzing fear. Why? Because you operate on a certain level of faith. You act with just enough information to proceed.
And that ability to proceed without perfect knowledge is what separates action from just analysis paralysis, which is where the sources share this really fascinating insight from studying, billionaires and top investors, people like Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett.
Yes. They found that often the people with the highest IQs, the traditionally smartest people, can actually make the worst investors.
Wait, how is that possible? Shouldn't more brainpower mean better decisions?
It means better analysis, but not necessarily better decisions.
Yeah.
The problem is that the smartest people, they want to know everything.
Ah.
They get so focused on eliminating that last 5% of risk that by the time they're ready to act, the market has moved. The opportunity is gone. They miss the window.
So the big takeaway here is that when you're facing a choice, not deciding is actually the worst possible decision you could make.
It's the highest cost. If you make a wrong decision, you find out fast. You get feedback. You learn. You correct.
You can shift.
You shift.
Yeah.
But if you just sit there paralyzed, you pay the opportunity cost forever. You have to start exercising that decision-making muscle, even if it's small, just to build momentum.
And for that momentum to actually stick, you need to understand that a real decision isn't just one moment, it's a process.
Yes, most people think they've decided, but then they just fall back into old habits.
The sources break this down into 3 steps, which we can call DCR, that a choice needs to actually stick.
Right. It starts with the first, simplest step. Decide. That's the moment itself, the flash of inspiration, the intellectual choice.
But here's the trap. This is where everyone messes up. They have that moment, and then they leave it without any physical action. They say, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll look into that later.
And that inspired state, it's fleeting. It just fades away if you don't anchor it with an action right then and there.
Which brings us to the second step, commit.
Commitment. This is what takes that decision into the future. It's the physical, measurable step you take right now. You decide to go back to school. Commitment is enrolling in the class that afternoon.
I love how the sources trace the word back. The Latin root for decision is basically incision, to cut.
To cut off. Commitment is about cutting off any other possibility.
There's no plan B.
No plan B. And this is where that incredible metaphor comes in. If you want to take the island, you have to burn your boats. Because as long as your mind has a safe way out, it'll spend half its energy planning the retreat. Commitment removes the safety net. It forces you to focus 100% on moving forward.
That explains so many failed New Year's resolutions. We decide, but we never burn the boats. We always leave the back door open.
Exactly. And once you've decided and you've committed,
Get.
you need that final step, resolve.
And this isn't an action. This is an internal state.
It's the emotional state. If deciding is the war, resolution is the peace that comes after. It's that absolute internal promise to yourself that you will never give up, no matter what setbacks come.
And you can see that resolve in people, can't you? Like a Super Bowl kicker lining up for the final kick.
Or a top athlete. There's no internal debate visible. Their entire physical being is aligned with the outcome. That's the peace we're aiming for.
So that's great for smaller choices. But what about the really big ones? The life-changing decisions. That's when we get into that overthinking spiral.
That's when you're asking 5 competing questions in your head at once. And our brain just isn't built for that.
So the solution is to slow down, write it down, and use a system. The sources outline this 6-step framework, OCEMR.
Exactly. It forces you to be clear. And the first step is the most important. The first O is for outcome.
Start with what you want, not what you're afraid of.
Yes. If you're struggling with a decision, it's almost always because you're secretly trying to achieve multiple conflicting outcomes at the same time.
Like you can't have a path that guarantees a stress-free family life, tons of free time, and a billion-dollar startup.
You have to write them down, you have to prioritize them, and this is critical, you have to define the why. What's the emotion you're really chasing?
Once that's clear, you move to the second O, option.
And this is a huge psychological lever. The source material is very clear on this. 1 option is no option. 2 options is a dilemma.
A trap.
A trap. You need at least 3 choices to make your brain feel like it actually has control.
Why is that third option so important?
Because with A or B, your brain gets stuck in a win-lose fight. You just defend one side. But when you introduce option C, even a crazy one, it breaks the deadlock. It forces your brain to switch from defensive to creative thinking.
That's a powerful little trick. Okay, so after you have your options, you get to see consequences.
This is just mapping it out. The upside, the downside for each path. No judgment, just what could happen.
And that leads to evaluate. And this is the step most people skip.
They absolutely do. You have to evaluate the probability of those consequences. Don't let some crazy, low probability, worst case scenario hijack your nervous system if there's, a 0.1% chance of it happening.
Be realistic about the risk. That probably cuts out most of the anxiety right there.
It does. And then you get to M, mitigate. This is the creative part.
How do I reduce the downside?
Exactly. How can you mix and match elements from your different options to reduce the likely risks? This is where breakthroughs happen because you're not operating from fear anymore. You're optimizing.
And there's a specific testament to this system in the sources. The person who codified this process attributes a $400 million gain from a single decision.
From one decision. Not because of luck, but because of the structure. The system worked.
That is incredible. Okay, so let's pivot a little from how we decide to why we decide. The material argues that a truly extraordinary life requires 2 different skills: the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment.
This is that classic dichotomy, strategy versus philosophy. The science of achievement is, it's a science. It's strategic. If you do certain things, you get certain results.
Like in business or fitness.
Exactly. It's a manual. It's necessary for success in the external world. But then there's the art of fulfillment.
Which is completely different.
Totally different. It's unique, like a signature. There are no rigid laws. But it's built on 2 core principles: growth, giving, contribution.
And if you have all the achievement in the world, but you lack that internal art, it's all hollow.
The material uses the tragic, powerful example of Robin Williams. He conquered the science of achievement. I mean, #1 TV show, an Oscar, wealth, family.
He had everything.
By every external metric, he had it all.
Yeah.
And yet,
yeah,
he lacked that internal fulfillment. And it illustrates the ultimate failure, success without peace.
It's a chilling reminder, and it brings us to this challenge of comfort. We're all chasing comfort, but the material insists comfort actually makes us weak. It says progress equals happiness.
This is a core idea. If a business or relationship isn't growing, it's dying. And when we stop making progress, we feel stagnant. We feel stuck.
Back where we started.
And what's concerning is this modern trend of extreme self-care, the idea of just checking out, doing nothing. The research actually shows it can increase anxiety.
That seems counterintuitive. If I'm stressed, shouldn't I just stop?
The argument is that when you constantly retreat, you weaken your emotional immune system. You become more fragile. The sources cite some pretty alarming data, like 61% of Gen Z reporting an anxiety disorder diagnosis. And you see this massive increase in medication use. The connection they draw is that a societal shift toward comfort and avoidance is leaving people less equipped to handle even minor stress.
So we're basically training ourselves to be weaker by always seeking the easy path.
Precisely. And this ties directly back to self-esteem. We're often taught that self-esteem is something you're given. The sources say that's completely wrong.
How so?
Self-esteem is not given to you. It is earned by you. You earn it by doing difficult things that you know are right, pushing through a challenge. That's how you build real self-respect.
That idea of pushing through, it connects to the final piece of wisdom here, pattern recognition.
That's right. Understanding the predictable patterns of life. It reduces fear because it gives you context for your struggle.
You realize it's not just you, it's a cycle.
Exactly. The sources describe life as having these predictable seasons, like planting and harvesting.
Let's walk through those. The first is springtime, from birth to around age 21. This is just taking everything in, rapid, easy growth.
Then you hit summer. This is roughly 22 to 42. This is the testing time, the grind. And across multiple studies, this is often the most painful and an unhappy stage of life.
It's when you realize you're not invincible.
Right. Your ideas get tested by reality. And if you didn't plant good seeds in the spring, summer can be brutal. This is where most people feel stuck.
Which makes sense. You're juggling career, family, debt. But if you get through summer, you enter autumn, ages 43 to 63.
This is the reward stage, the harvest. Your knowledge and skills have accumulated. This is often your peak earning potential, your time of leadership and influence.
And finally, winter, age 64 and on. This is described as the magnificent stage.
As long as you've cared for your health, yes. You're not focused on proving yourself anymore. You're focused on contribution, legacy, deep relationships. The goal shifts from achievement to appreciation.
And realizing you're on a limited racetrack, as they call it, is what gives it all value. It helps you understand the pain of summer, knowing autumn and winter are coming.
Absolutely. The difficulty, the growth,
Yeah.
that's what makes life meaningful. And it all comes back to mastering that skill of decision-making and committing to fulfillment, to growth and contribution over just simple comfort.
Which leads to this final, really provocative story the material leaves us with, the parable of the gambler in heaven.
Right. A man gets to heaven and he has everything. Luxury suite, infinite money, and every single time he gambles, he wins. Instantly.
Sounds pretty good.
For about 3 weeks. Then he's just furious. He goes to the head angel and says, I don't belong here. I win every time. I'm miserable. Send me to the other place. And the angel just looks at him and says, who said you were in heaven?
Wow. If time was unlimited and you always got exactly what you wanted with no struggle, would you really value life as much? If the answer is no, what decision can you make today to focus on meaning, on growth, and on love instead of just the pursuit of comfort? That is the real choice that determines what comes next.